Module 5, where we'll discuss intellectual property, internet law, and privacy laws that apply to owning property and actual intellectual property and stuff like that. Same format, open exercise, interactive lecture, discussion, critical thinking mastery. Pop right into the Module 5. Open up here in a second. Here it is. So in this scenario, you're promoted to the marketing manager of a corporation, and recalling your intellectual property classes here in business law, and if you took marketing classes as well, you'll be exposed to those. And you have to ensure your firm does not infringe on anybody else's marks. So the courts have been determined that there are a large range of trademarks and service marks, and marketing managers need to be aware that parts of brands or forms of products identification may qualify trademark protection. So there's 4 topics you need to address in your paper. First topic, intellectual property, such as patent, trademarks, service marks, copyrights, etc. Define it. So if you pick patent, define it and discuss it in depth. Give a good depth review of what exactly a patent is, or a trademark, or a service mark, copyrights. Next, you'll discuss when the company should protect this type of IP and how it should protect it. So getting familiar with the IP laws, you should be able to understand how it will apply to the company, what it should be used to protect what. Specifically intellectual property, like the original things made by the company, written by the company, formulated by the company, stuff like that. So if you're making widgets and you're the only one making these widgets in the world, you want to get a patent on it because you want to protect that. So the competition doesn't steal away from you and the company loses millions of dollars. Lastly, search the internet library, provide one example. There's plenty of examples out there on what of an international business committed an intellectual property infringement. There's one out there, I think it was Nike employees went over to Adidas with Nike ideas and come up with a shoe that was similar to Nike's, and so there's a non-competitive agreement there, so that was a property infringement there, so you might run across that case. And finally, describe how this would affect the manner in which a U.S. business could or should conduct business in that foreign country. A couple of sources here, since it's intellectual property is being talked about internationally. You can go to the World Trade Organization, that's at WTO.org, and it goes over what are property rights internationally, and that could help understand the international side. In the U.S., we have the USPTO.gov, or United States Patent and Trademark Office, which goes into in-depth detail about all the different patents and trademarks. So that's where we're at there for that discussion. Go back over to the module discussion. If you have any questions, of course, ask. Looking at the critical thinking, as your guess is about intellectual property. So 2 choices here: ethics and intellectual property. The first option, explain why it is important to protect intellectual property. That's your first topic. Second topic, determine how intellectual property should be protected. And third one, examine if intellectual protections ever go too far. They overstep their boundaries and making it too hard for another person, another artist to use another artist's materials or author's materials. And finally, the propose the proper balance. Propose a proper balance between content producers and the public good. This is a compare and contrast the IP laws and regulations. How they fare? Do they work out for the public, or are they protecting the producers? And is there a good balance there? One IP we practice here at CSU Global that you're well familiar with is called APA. So when we say cite another author's words you use to justify or support what you're writing about, that's protecting the author. You're giving them credit, and you're also protecting yourself because you don't get caught up in a plagiarism incident at the university and possibly get kicked out. Okay, option 2, the fair use doctrine. Excuse me. Topics there. First, explain facts of the case and legal reasoning reply behind the results of the case. Obviously, look at a fair use doctrine, find out what it is, how it works, and how it works with IP, and how it can be best used for the user itself. So that's where you find a case on that. There's plenty of case studies out there on fair use doctrine. If you agree with the results of the case or not, kind of compare and contrast the case. Does it sound fair to what intellectual property rights are saying, and if under the fair use doctrine or not? Do you think it was not fair, or was it fair? Go either side. Play devil's advocate with it, and be objective in your analysis of the case. And finally, justify the defense of fair use. Answer the following questions. These are subtopics to that. Explain the importance of protecting intellectual property rights, same as option 1. Determine the importance for society to have access to intellectual property. And finally, discuss whether fair doctrine properly balances the rights of the content produced against the public against. Same thing as option 1. Is it fair? Is it too restrictive where people can't use the content against for their own personal use or not? Again, if you have questions, please do ask, and I hope you enjoy this week.